To discuss the issue of Syria more, I'm joined from Washington by Webster Tarpley, author and historian. Welcome to the programme, sir. Dr. Tarpley, Syria has accepted Kofi Annan's initiative. The ceasefire has taken effect, but now we're hearing Obama speaking of sending aid to the armed gangs, similar to what we saw in Libya that turned out to be aid plus weapons. And to prove this, we saw the so-called Friends of Syria conference approving salaries for armed gangs. Just how much will the ceasefire hold out, do you think?
I think the ceasefire is likely not to last, precisely because the so-called opposition, the death squads, as I would call them, and their camp followers, have every incentive to break the ceasefire. We have Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, saying the onus is on Assad. So if snipers go on the roofs of buildings in Homs and kill people, then the Western media immediately arrive and say, aha, this is the work of Assad. So that gives them every incentive. The people who want to bring down Assad have every incentive to keep up the violence. Now, the move this afternoon is interesting in itself. Obama got out of town in the morning. He doesn't want to be associated with this. He flew to Tampa, then to Cartagena, Colombia for the Summit of the Americas. It's Friday afternoon. This is supposedly the time when the U.S. public is paying least attention to this kind of thing. We've become accustomed to the Obama administration Friday afternoon document dump. For example, when Obama wanted to send troops to Uganda last October, Friday afternoon, when he announced his executive order on the Defense Production Act for war or oil emergencies, that was done Friday afternoon. So here we are, it's Friday afternoon, but we don't even get a real live official. We get a U.S. official off the record. It's typically somebody from the National Security Council who says, you're authorized to say that a U.S. official is announcing this. So Obama doesn't want to be seen doing this. Now, the content of it was apparently set up by Obama with Erdogan in South Korea some weeks back. Supposedly $12 million, and the U.S. government says it's non-lethal. Well, what could it be? They say communications and medical. Now, communications can mean things like night vision goggles, sniper scopes, infrared, things that help you kill people. There's even a more sinister dimension. Suppose they're looking ahead to a bombing campaign. If you give somebody a certain kind of satellite cell phone, which has a GPS, global positioning, built into it, you can use that to call in airstrikes. And this was done in Libya. Western agents posing as journalists would call in airstrikes on buildings if they'd been taken by in the press bus. Another dimension. In Libya, the assassination of the family of the Al-Qualdis in Sorman near Tripoli was carried out by some people who got up in a water tower and they painted the homes with a laser. So there are certain kinds of lasers which by themselves don't kill anybody, but they can be used to facilitate the bombing attack. It allows you to single out one house from the ground. You're basically working as a spotter. And it seems to me this is the dimension. It's a preparation for a new round of violence and killing.
Indeed. Now, Doctor, we saw that Kofi Annan travelled to Iran for support for his plan. What role do you think can Iran play as a neighbour of Syria, as opposed to Syria's other neighbours, especially Turkey?
Well, obviously, not to be fooled by Kofi Annan, who is simply a colonial administrator or imperialist bureaucrat. He's the kind of people who ran the British Empire in many parts of the world over the last 100 years or so. I think it's also important to keep reality clear, which is that this is not a matter of civilians protesting. This is a matter of violent groups that have been sent in from the outside. The other thing I think is important is where might this be going? Erdogan of Turkey yesterday said that he expects NATO to defend the Syrian border with Turkey. In other words, if Syrians shoot across the border into Turkey, he wants NATO to be there. Now, that's an escalation for Erdogan. On the other side, the Russian Navy announces that they're going to be keeping at least a guided missile destroyer and an electronic surveillance ship and a couple of other vessels in the eastern Mediterranean between Cyprus and the Syrian coast, based on the port of Tartus in Syria. So it looks like Russia, whatever they may be doing in the Security Council, feels that, that they're going to be staying there for quite a while. Another wild card in this situation is Sarkozy. Sarkozy is now 8 points back. He's behind in the second round of the French voting. First round in about a week, second round a couple of weeks after that. If Sarkozy thinks he's losing, watch out for some wild adventure by Sarkozy. Obama would not agree. Obama wants the wild adventure in October, not now. So this is the kind of situation we now have.
Indeed. I'm sorry we'll have to leave it there. Many thanks to Dr. Webster Griffin Tarpley, author and historian from Washington. Thanks for your time there, sir, as always.